To begin, our first speaker, he is a guru, as you know. He's a tech guru, whether it's self-proclaimed or industry proclaimed, he is a guru. And his topic is, watch out, the future is coming. Mark is our technical expert here in Voyagers. He's a PR person for technical companies. He is also going to give us some effective things to look for in 2022. How to be great in 2022, but watch out for the future. Please welcome Mark Shapiro. Mark.
Thank you, Jerry. Can everybody see my screen and hear me? Cool. How to be great in 2022. Technology is coming. CES is coming. The Consumer Electronics Show. Yeah, this is the biggest, the best, the most exciting technology show in the whole world. I go every year. I've been going for like 20, 25 years. This is great. So part of what we're going to be talking about is they're going to be showing at CES. I'm going to be there in January, the first week in January. So don't miss me at the meeting. I'm going to be having fun, hanging out with all the top technical people, unless, of course, at the last second, they cancel it because of COVID. Let's just keep our fingers crossed that I get to be gone and hang out in Vegas and do CES. First megatrend I want to talk about is electrification. I'm sure a lot of you are familiar with what's going on, that we're switching, the world is switching from hydrocarbons to electricity. It is there's all these various different new power sources that are coming. You'll see here that the U.S. Energy Information Administration, I've never heard of them, but anyway, they're saying by 2050, almost half of our power will be coming from renewable sources. This is wind, this is solar, this is a variety of other ways to go. Nuclear. One of the most interesting ones, I think is really interesting, is thermal. That's right, thermal. In other words, getting power from volcanoes inside the earth. And one of the most interesting things in the last 6 months has been a discussion about tapping Yellowstone. Has anyone ever been to Yellowstone? Basically, it's a big, giant volcano that hasn't yet erupted. If and when Yellowstone does erupt, it might be the end of life on this planet because it's a big potential volcano. So what people are saying we should do, we should like drill holes into it and suck out the heat energy and use that to make electricity. Makes sense, but there's a lot of pro and con. Some of the con is that it'll look pretty ugly. You can see, here's a picture some people came up with of what it might look like. You know, these big power things next to all the geysers. Another problem is once you make the power, this is similar to all electrification problems. How do you get the electricity from where they're making it to the people we need it? You got to run power lines. That'll be sort of ugly. Another problem, this is from the geologist, saying if we drill these holes in, you know, we might get rid of the potential for this big explosion by sapping out all this heat energy that's growing underground. But then again, it might set the volcano off. It might be all of a sudden what this needs is a route to the surface, and you can say goodbye, and we're all going to be like dinosaurs. Yeah. So that's an interesting thing that might be happening. So keep your fingers crossed that that Yellowstone doesn't explode. Electric vehicles. How many of you have an EV car? I've got a hybrid. Some of us have plug-ins. Some of us have hybrids. But what's going on, you may have seen the news yesterday, Toyota announced it's going totally electric. By 2035, they're going to be selling mostly electric cars. They're predicting 3.5 million cars are going to sell every year that are electric. In Europe, by 2030, all the cars need to be electric that they're being sold. United States are predicting half the cars that are being sold will be electric. You'll see this chart I got from the Wall Street Journal yesterday about the goals for vehicle sales as a share of total sales. All the major car companies are moving in this direction. What's really interesting, There's a lot of little tiny EV companies popping up in China, in Vietnam. Vietnam is going to be one of the major EV car manufacturers in the future. And what's part of the driving that? There's a variety of things that are driving this. One of them is new battery technologies. We're getting away from the lithium ion, and we're moving into new types of battery technologies that charge faster, that are safer, that don't use as many heavy metals. And that's helping them to move the electric vehicle market forward. EV charging infrastructure is also changing. Right now, I have a plug in my garage for my Prius, and it takes like all day. And this is just a hybrid with a little tiny battery. So what's moving on is the new types of charging devices that are evolving. You can see here that they're moving from small ones to 240 volts to bigger ones. Eventually, right now, it takes to charge a car up for 200 kilometers, probably takes about a couple hours. To charge it up for using a more 150 kilowatt machine, just 15 minutes. And then when we get to the 350 kilowatt machines, whoa, you can charge your whole car up in 10 minutes or so. That's pretty cool. Another thing that's happening is what's called hot swap batteries. You guys have all seen those scooters around town, right? And every night, people with pickup trucks go out and they collect them all, and they all bring them back to their house and they plug them all in and let them charge overnight. And in the morning, they get up and take them out. Well, the new thing that's coming for the smaller vehicles, including robots and delivery robots and drones, is hot swap batteries. They don't no longer have to plug it in. They just put it in a new battery and they can do a hot swap. They can pull out one battery, slap in another, and off you go. It'll be really good for all these people running around changing the scooter batteries around town, because it'll be a lot easier for them. Pretty cool. Another thing, okay, this is part of the whole new charging infrastructure that's going on. Another mega trend, autonomous vehicles. I've spoken about autonomy and what's going on in the future with cars that, vehicles that drive themselves. This is really moving ahead really quick. Delivery vehicles, warehouse vehicles, buses, shuttles, drones. Those are the first ones that are going to be totally autonomous, because the odds are these are not going to kill anybody if something goes wrong. Every day we read about a Tesla killing someone accidentally because someone took their hands off because they read the Tesla instructions that says, oh yeah, I'm on auto drive. Auto drive doesn't really work. And actually part of the problem is we have the SAC chart here, which explains the different levels of automation, where Tesla says they're at 4 or 5, but they're really at 2. Right here at 2 to 3 is the hotspot where most automobile innovation is going on right now. This is where the ADAS systems, cars that are automatically park themselves or unpark themselves, that's what I need. Or you press a button in your car that's parked, downstairs in the basement at Horton Plaza, where it will come up and find you. I think that's pretty cool. Another thing that's going on is with buses and shuttles and trucks, they're saying, well, yeah, they're on the major highways, but they're going to need their own lane. They're going to have their own autonomous lane. So that's something to look forward to. Autonomous vehicles are here now. They're going to be a lot more later. So let's talk about how it works. I'm going to get deep in the weeds here. There's a couple of technologies. You guys are familiar with GNS, which is basically the international term for GPS. And right now, a vehicle using GPS can figure out where it is within 2 to 5 meters. Not very good. But there's a new technology called RTK, which corrects that, which takes the GPS signal, figures out what's going wrong with it, gets rid of the atmospheric noise, and then gives it back to the vehicle. So now the vehicle knows where it is between 5 to 10 centimeters. So that's a lot safer. So when you're driving along, you're not driving on the sidewalk. Instead, you're driving in the middle of the road. Other things that are coming is map download. Google Maps will be downloading on a relative basis through 5G to your car updated maps, because every car driving along will be contributing to that map, telling us where we are, where we're going. Have you heard about V2V, vehicle to vehicle connected cars? So if you're the car, this is sort of like Waze. How many of you have Waze, right? If you're using Waze, and Waze keeps track of what's happening ahead of you, the cars in front of you can tell you what's happening ahead. If there's traffic, if there's an accident, if there's a slowdown, if there's bad weather, and sending the signal back to your car so your car can think and change. Perception and inertial sensors. This is the LiDAR, the radar, the cameras that tell you what's around the car. In other words, if there's a car parked in front, a fire engine, a stupid pedestrian, theoretically, it'll recognize what it is and make the car stop and avoid them. And what that's going to require is a lot better sensors and artificial intelligence, AI, which I like to call machine learning, is more commonly known as AI. Finally, let's talk about the MetaVerse. How many people have heard about the MetaVerse? Facebook has just changed their name to Meta. What's going on here? Well, this is, to me, one of the biggest hypes in the world. Basically, they're working off Oculus. I was at CES when Oculus launched, and you had to put these big giant glasses on and these things you got to hold, as you can see right here. This is the new Facebook Meta. It doesn't look much different. The glasses are a little bit smaller, but you still got to wear these big, old ugly glasses. And theoretically, it'll take you to another world where you can work. It's like Zoom, but the next step. Instead of seeing each other's faces, we're going to have avatars, or we can be in another room. Personally, I like Zoom. I like seeing real faces instead of avatars. What's interesting, Oculus launched in 2012. I was there for 2.4 million. Facebook bought it for 2.3 billion 2 years later. So that's the third big megatrend I wanted to talk about. And next time you guys bring me back, I'm going to talk about some of the other meta things that are going on, COVID and Omicron and custom pharmaceuticals, 5G, all these other things. But that's for next time. Jerry, bring me back, and I'm ready for you. Bye-bye. Back to Jerry.